This week, we're looking for gifts for landscape photographers, whether you're looking to make a list for somebody to buy for you or whether you're trying to buy for the landscape photographer on your list. So holiday sales are starting to kick into full swing, and you might be trying to figure out what to buy the landscape photographer on your list, or maybe you're a landscape photographer trying to generate a list for someone else. So last year I took the year off from doing a holiday gift guide, but I wanted to come back to it this year. I think I've got some good things on the list, and hopefully it'll help you out whether you're buying for a landscape photographer or if you're a landscape photographer trying to make a list for someone else. Now I try to do things a little different with my holiday gift guide. I try to target items that are helpful no matter what, regardless of what camera system you use, regardless of what lenses they have, regardless of what filter system they have. A lot of those things come down to the photographer being sort of picky about it. They're probably researching it like crazy and want something very specific. And that can make it hard to buy for a person as a gift. So the items on my list are a little more general in nature, but something that I like to have out in the field. Everything I'm going to talk about today has been helpful or something that I consider a key piece of my photography gear when I'm out traveling, when I'm out in the field. And really, for a lot of these, even a duplicate or an extra can still be helpful. So it's not something where, like, if they already have one of these, that it's going to be bad, because having an extra a lot of times is good. And I'll particularly call that out during the video as I go through that. So whether you're a landscape photographer trying to generate a list for someone else, or you're trying to find things to buy for the landscape photographer in your life, I hope this list helps. So in previous gift guides, I've recommended some form of cleaning kit, but over the years, I've sort of narrowed this down to a couple items I think are super useful to the landscape photographer trying to keep their lenses clean or their camera sensor clean. Now, I'm a Nikon shooter, so that means I've become very well versed in keeping my sensor clean because we have no sensor shield, but this will work for any kind of camera system and super handy. First thing we've got is this rocket blower right here. What this is, it just blows air, comes through a filter so you get nice clean air, and you can use it for everything like blowing water off of a lens, blowing dust off of a lens, anything like that. Super handy in the field or at home. You can also use it to keep your sensor clean, so if you're getting some dust on it, photographer can take their camera like this, squirt a little bit of air up there, and sort of blow it out. So super handy for a photographer to help keep their lenses or their sensors clean. Now this is the large sized one. I also have a small one that I keep in my camera bag, so super handy out in the field and at home if you're trying to do some cleaning. Now moving on beyond that is this nylon sensor brush. What this is just a little brush. Comes in this tube. I always keep it in the tube to keep it clean. But it's got these little nylon bristles on it. And you can hit it with your rocket blower, which builds up a little bit of static on this brush. And then you can clean your sensor by taking this and just sort of lightly brushing it. And it's really good for getting that dry dust, dirt, and stuff off of it like that. I find that a lot of times I don't really have to wet clean my sensor if I'm just diligent about using a rocket blower and using the static brush to keep things clean. So that helps minimize the amount of times I have to do a wet cleaning of it. So super handy. Like I said, I actually have a couple of these. I keep one in my camera bag. While I probably wouldn't clean my camera sensor out in the field per se, if I'm traveling or I'm able to get out of the wind or something like that, it can be handy for that. And of course, the rocket blower is super cool for dust and water. And finally, the last item on the little cleaning list is a microfiber cloth. Now, a lot of photographers have microfiber cloths. They're super popular for cleaning the end of your lens or anything like that. Now, I've come to prefer these jumbo cloths from Zeiss, like this one. You can see it's quite big. Just like any other microfiber cloth, you can clean the end of your lens with it. You can dust your camera off. You can clean the back of the LCD with it, anything like that. But I love to have multiples of these around. I like to keep a couple on my camera bag. This is one of those things I never like to go looking for. I like it to just be almost wherever I turn, I'm able to grab one and use it because it makes it super handy. And because I have multiples, they can be in my camera bag. I can accidentally leave them in my coat pockets. It's just one of those things that's super handy. The other thing, because this is a jumbo, while normally I sort of carry more of a microfiber towel to dry my camera off of them in the rain, if I happen to forget that or one's getting wet, this one in a pinch can double as a way to wipe your camera down. So if you're photographing in the rain and your camera and everything's getting all wet and you're getting set to put it back in the camera bag, I like to wipe it down. In a jumbo cloth like this, you can easily wipe down the camera, the lens, get it put back into your camera bag. And while things are going to be damp, at least it won't be soaking wet when it goes in there. So super handy. I think every photographer should have multiples of these. These are just one of those things I don't think you should always be looking for or hoping you remember to pack. It should just be there. Okay, moving on from the cleaning supplies, we're going to move to multi-tools. Now this one's made my list before in the past as well. There's various types of multi-tools out there, but I really like this one. This is a Leofoto multi-tool. It comes with Allen keys, a 3, 4, and a 5mm. This one sort of pops out. The smaller one just slides out and gives you a little Allen key there. Has a little screwdriver here at this end, and it's even got a little bottle opener to help you out. It's got a little key clip here, or acts as a carabiner right here. But these are super handy because sometimes things just get loose out in the field. You always tend to find yourself looking for either a flathead screwdriver or an Allen key. This is lightweight, super easy to keep in the camera bag, and can really save a trip because if your tripod leg's getting loose and it's not staying sturdy, these Allen keys, you can tighten it right back up and take care of it. If you've got an Arca Swiss plate on the bottom of your camera that's starting to get loose and not staying tight or anything like that, a lot of times they'll either have an Allen key or a screwdriver head and you can tighten it up right there. So super handy to have with you. Doesn't weigh a lot. Most of this is plastic. Again, this is just one of those things I think it's always great to have around because something like a loose tripod leg or tripod plates or anything like that can really sort of disrupt a trip, and just something this small can really save it. So a multi-tool is great. And again, this is one of those, even if the photographer already has one, another one never hurts because it's one of those things you just don't want to leave home without. Next up, we've got power banks. This is one of those things that as a landscape photographer, even if you're not traveling a lot, you still tend to be away from power during the course of a day. Either you're doing some sort of day hike or you're out all day in some remote area and you just don't have a lot of power with you. And that's where a power bank can come in super handy. I use a couple different ones. We're going to talk about two of them today. First is this slim power bank. I tend to use Anker brand power banks. They've always served me well. This particular one is a 20,000 milliamp power bank, fairly decent in capacity, and it has a USB-C PD port, which means it can charge some of those more high power consuming things like an iPad or something like that. Has a USB-A port on it, and I can charge with either one of those or both of them at the same time. So things I can use it for, I can use it to charge camera batteries, I can use it to charge my phone, I can charge my camera battery from this while it's in the camera. All of those things make this thing super useful, and for day trips where you're away from power for quite a bit, it's great. Now I also do multi-day trips where I'm away from power for quite some time. So often I will have two of these slim banks at 20,000 milliamps. And then a lot of times I'll even bring along one of these, especially handy for if I'm camping and I don't have power, any direct power. This is a big Anker 737. It's a 24,000 milliamp one, but what I like about it is it has a little display on the front and you can charge two USB-C and one USB-A all at the same time. This one I'll actually use to power a laptop or power the iPad or anything like that. And then between two of these and one of these, I can keep pretty much all my devices from my phone, my watch, camera batteries, all charged nice and easy. So whether you're away from power just for the day or whether you're away from power for multiple days, these power banks can make things super useful. And it's one of those things where you can never have too many power banks in my opinion. So next up, we've got tech pouches. Now I've talked about tech pouches in the past, but it is one of the gear upgrades I've done that really help me stay more organized and be more confident when I head off on a trip that I've got everything I need. Because what I've found myself doing is I use a tech pouch. This is one I used to use. And I can put my chargers, I can put card readers and everything like that in here. And what I try to do is I make a habit of using my tech pouch even when I'm at home. So if I'm going to go get a memory card reader, I try to make sure to get it from here. And then when I'm done with it, put it back in here. And where that pays off is when I go on a trip or travel, I know I can just grab this. And as long as I've been able to do what I normally do at home, it'll all be in this pouch and I'll be good on the road. So it's made traveling so much easier. Instead of having to go through and do I have this charger? Do I have this card reader? Do I have that cable? I just know over the course of time, I've been using them out of this tech pouch and they're all there. I can just grab it and go. So super useful from that standpoint. It's minimized the amount of times I've forgotten something when I go traveling. Now I started using tech pouches. I sort of trialed it out with these lesser expensive. These are Mystery Ranch tech pouches. And it's just one big open pouch in there like that. There's not any real organization in it or anything like that. And it was super helpful. But since I was using a tech pouch all the time, I decided to upgrade to the Peak Design pouch. And it was really worth it. This Peak Design pouch has lots more organization into it. It's a mid-sized pouch. You know, it's got pockets back here, and I've got like lens wipes in here. And then it's got this pocket. The main compartment opens up, and it's got all of the storage in it. It's got larger pockets here, so I've got like a battery charger in here. I've got wall plugs if I happen to need them. I've got room for cables. I've got a USB-C hub in there. I've got memory cards in here. I've got miscellaneous cables, USB-C, USB-A, micro USB. I've got my card reader in here, the Freewell card reader. This is a multi-card reader. I've done a video on this one in the past, but I've got it stuck in here, and I've got another power bank in here. And it's got more pockets than I even really know what to do with. So if you're a super organized person, this thing has you. But really, like I said, the way I use this is I just make sure anytime I'm using a card reader, I get it from this pack. When I'm done with it, I put it back in here. And then if I were to leave for a trip tomorrow, I know all I need to do is grab this tech pouch and I have everything I need to be able to read my SD cards, be able to charge my batteries and the whole bit. So super handy. This is, like I said, this is the Peak Design tech pouch. And they're not the cheapest, but the level of organization and ruggedness you get out of it, it's just super nice to have, and I'm a huge tech pouch convert. Okay, next up, we've got external SSD drives. Now, I've really sort of settled in on this particular brand of drive. This is a Samsung T7 Shield. That means it's their rugged version. I have Samsung T7s, non-rugged, and they do just fine too. But these days I seek out the Shield version, which is a rugged version. It's got sort of this rubber coating. They're drop safe to 9.8 feet. They're IP65 dust and water rated. So they're made to be rugged drives. And the reason I like that is because I take these on the road with me and I can use them for backups. I've done videos on backing up using an iPad, and this is part of my workflow for that. So I can do backups on multi-day trips of my videos and my still photos to it with no problem. And then I also, when I'm in the office, I actually edit all of my videos off of one of these too. So I have 1 terabyte drives, 2 terabyte drives, but they're just super handy. They're fast, they're robust. I've never had a problem with them. I've probably got 3 or 4 of these. And like I said, over the years, I've used Lacy drives, I've used SanDisk drives, and I've really just come to settle on these Samsung Shields. Some of these are on sale right now. Like I said, highly recommend these. They're great for backups on the road, and they can even help you save space on your main machine when you're working on files at home if need be. They're plenty quick for that. So again, Samsung T7 Shield, their external SSD drives, highly recommend them. Okay, moving away from photography gear, but things that are still photography related, is books. Photography books can be a great gift for a person, and you may not know who their favorite landscape photographer is or something like that, or what they're specifically looking for. And I've done videos on books in the past. I'll link to it down below. Deliberate consumption of photography books, or how to sit down and really read and get usefulness out of a photography book. But I did want to recommend this. To me, is a great starter book because this is the Natural Landscape Photography Awards book. This is volume 3. Volume 1 and 2 are out, 3 is out, 4 is available for pre-order. But what this is from the Natural Landscape Photography Awards, and that is an awards that is completed its 4th year, going into its 5th year, and it's a large awards that really draws in a really high caliber of photographer. And the judging and the rules for the contest are very much towards natural landscape photography. No sky swaps, not heavy-handed editing or anything like that. So it's a really great contest. But then at the end of the contest, they put the winners in the book and they took other high-rated images into the book. But the reason I like these is because they have a variety of photographers in it. A lot of great photographers. There's a great curated collection of photographs in it. So that way, if you're buying it as a gift and you don't know who their favorite photographer is, this is just a collection of images. And it's some really great photography and a great thing to sort of see how other folks are doing things, get a feel for some really great photographers in the field. So a photography book can be a great gift idea. And like I said, I really like the Natural Landscape Photography Award books just because it's a very good collection of photographers. And if you're new to photography books, it's a great first exposure to it. And over time, you'll get to have your favorite photographers and you'll want to seek out their books that are made solely of their work. But this is a great way to get started, just this collection of images. Like I said, they've got 1, 2, and 3 volumes are already out. Volume 4 is available for pre-order. Okay, 2 more things left on the list, and this next one's a little unusual, but I think it can be super useful to a photographer, and it is this battery-operated hand warmer. As landscape photographers, we often end up out in the early mornings in the spring, fall, and it can be really cold. And though we're probably wearing gloves, a lot of time to really work those controls on the camera, we end up taking the gloves off, or they're fingerless gloves, or we've flipped the mitten back, and we're working with the camera and our hands can get really cold, so you want to be able to warm them up. Now, those chemical hand warmers are great because you can put them in your pockets and go in there, but they only get so warm. This has a low, medium, and high setting. You can just turn it on. It warms up very quickly and it can get very hot. It's a very quick way. For example, I just turned it on 10 seconds ago and I can already feel the warmth starting on its lowest setting. You can put it in your pocket and it's a really fast way to warm your fingers back up when you're between taking shots. So super handy to have in your pocket. This particular one has 10,000 milliamps of power and it can double as sort of a backup or emergency power bank. You can plug a USB-A connection in here, and you can plug into it. And while I wouldn't rely on this as the regular power bank, if you happen to desperately need to get a little bit of a charge on your phone or maybe top off a camera battery, this thing has just enough power to do that, sort of get you up and running for a little bit. But if you know a photographer that photographs in a cold climate, these hand warmers can be really awesome. Finally, we come to our last item. As landscape photographers, we find ourselves out on the trails in the dark quite a bit. Either pre-sunrise, as we're hiking to a sunrise spot, it can be dark, or after the sun goes down for a sunset, we can find ourselves hiking back to our cars in the dark. So that's where a headlamp becomes super helpful. Put it on your head, leaves your hands free to adjust the camera, hike the trail, move up and down a difficult trail, anything like that. So what I've got here, this is a Petzl headlamp. This is the one I went with after lots of research. What I like about it is it's got a rechargeable battery in it, so I can charge it off of my power banks. Super handy. If I'm away from power for multiple days or anything like that, using the headlamp a lot, I got a way to recharge it. This one can also take AAA batteries. You can just pop the rechargeable battery out, put AAAs in it. So if you happen to exhaust a battery, lose the battery, you have some options to take care of that with you right there. This one has the red lamp for not damaging your night vision, and then it has a low, medium, and high setting for the floodlight on it. So super cool, super handy. Headlamp, I always keep one in my camera bag. I try to keep one in my car. So this is another one of those things where even if a photographer already has one of them, a second one or something like that just means you can sort of stash one in another place and always have one with you and not worry about forgetting it at home. So a headlamp can be super cool for a landscape photographer because we spend a lot of time in the dark. So that's my gift guide for this year. Like I said, all of this stuff is pretty easy to find out there, either on Amazon, Best Buy, or your local stores. You don't have to know everything about what your photographer has. You don't have to know what kind of camera system they have. You don't have to know what kind of lenses they have. You don't have to know what kind of filters or filter sizes. These are just very helpful gifts that can help a landscape photographer when they're out practicing their craft. Many of these, if I were to get an extra one of these, I wouldn't be bothered by it at all. It would just mean I could make sure I always have one, either keep something in the camera bag and keep it in the car, keep it in multiple camera bags, keep it in multiple cars, but super useful, just makes workflow easier. So hopefully this list of ideas helps you, whether you're the landscape photographer trying to generate a list for somebody or whether you're trying to buy for a landscape photographer. Anyways, if this video was helpful, be sure to hit that like button. And if you want to see future landscape photography content from me, including tips, tricks, behind the scenes, and mini gear reviews, be sure to click that subscribe button. And thank you for watching.